Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, since the dawn of the internet, advertisers have been targeting consumers in a, let's face it, increasingly invasive and distracting manner, resulting in users fighting back by installing ad blockers and even going as far as to completely deleting their social media accounts. Furthermore, big tech has been aggressively collecting and monetizing all of our data, for the most part without us even knowing how and where and when that data is used. And it's against this backdrop that PermissionIO was born, to change the status quo via their platform that is empowering consumers to own their own data and actually be compensated for it. And I think it's hoped by returning control to the users and ensuring consumers are properly rewarded for their time and attention, combined with the fact that advertisers are assured of reaching willing and truly engaged audiences, is a step forward in the name of progress. And what I found particularly interesting was Google has also partnered with Permission to bring permission-based ad solutions to its users. And all that news set off my spidey senses, so buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Puerto Rico so we can speak with Charles Silver about how Permission is solving key problems within the privacy data conundrum and help building a new web. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, thanks for having me, Neil. My name's Charlie Silver. I'm a career entrepreneur. I've built several companies with successful exits. In the .com era, I built a company called Real Age, which was a very successful health media company that asked people hundreds of questions about their health and well-being, and we reported their real age, and then would ask permission if we can send them information on products and services about how to make their real age younger. We sold that successfully to the Hearst Corporation 10 years ago. And then I've started several other companies, including a publicly traded ETF issuer with 7 traded ETFs, including the first blockchain equity ETF and a cryptocurrency hedge fund. And here we are with Permission.io, which helps people earn from their time and their data.
And I'm excited to talk with you so much about that in a few moments. But before we do find out everything that you're doing now, I've got to ask, where did your love of technology come from? Can you remember what it was that put you on the path that you're on today?
Well, I can't remember a specific incident, but I do know that I very much wanted to get involved in tech. And it was at the dawn of the internet. It was kind of the realization about how the internet was probably the greatest and is and will be the most important invention in the history of mankind. And it was all about wanting to be part of the internet. And in the mid to late 90s, that's where I really fell in love with that.
Since the dawn of the internet, advertisers have been targeting consumers in an increasingly invasive and distracting manner, resulting in users fighting back by installing ad blockers and even going as far as to delete their social media accounts entirely. But I'm curious, have you seen this evolve throughout your career?
My first internet company, Real Age, we collected more data than anybody. I mean, it was written about us quite frequently. Actually, we had quite a bit of airtime on the BBC. We actually had a partnership with the BBC in the UK regarding how people can be healthier and live younger. But the tech companies have become more and more successful at collecting users' data. I mean, think about map applications, and that alone the big tech companies know where you go every day. I mean, your location. They know more about you than you probably know about yourself, what you're likely to buy. I mean, who all of your connections are and where they go and what they buy. So it's become quite a situation where they've become enormously wealthy based on personal data, but the users don't get a cut. And that's where things are about to change.
And there really does seem to be a wind of change in the industry at the moment, especially with big tech aggressively collecting and monetizing user data without consumers knowing how, where, and when their data is used. And users are starting to question how things are working now. And this is a change I'm seeing more and more, especially with the arrival of the new privacy-based browsers such as Brave, which is a big hit at the moment. But is that something that you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the big tech guys have overplayed their hand in many ways, and regulators and consumers are pushing back. Although I do believe in the free market, and the issue is data has enormous value. It's probably the most valuable commodity in the world. And who owns that data? Does the individual own the data, or do the big tech companies own the data? Well, our premise is individuals own it, and they should earn from it.
And as for PermissionIO, can you tell me more about the story behind it and your mission to empower consumers to own their own data and also be compensated for it? Because it's incredibly cool what you're doing here, and I think those words will resonate with so many people. But can you tell me a little bit more about the story behind it?
Yeah, well, it starts with that data is this enormously valuable asset. The premise is that the individual owns that data, and that advertisers, instead of paying big tech and other collectors of that data, they should be compensating the individual for it directly. And that is what PermissionIO is all about. Our mission is about helping users or individuals earn from their data. And we've created a cryptocurrency, ASK, for that purpose.
And you guys have set out to solve key problems in the privacy data conundrum for a new web. But can you tell me a little bit more about how it all works and the role of that ASK token you just mentioned?
Well, I want to make something clear.
Yeah.
We're not in the privacy business.
Yeah.
We're in, and Brave, as you mentioned earlier, is a great company. They have a great mission. They're a huge leader in this very wide change on how data is used. But Brave doesn't collect data. They are purely privacy, that you can browse the internet where no data is collected. We are different in the sense that you browse the internet, we do collect the data. We use that data in order to serve relevant and useful ads. And if a user chooses to watch that ad, they get compensated. So we're all about taking the data that is collected the way Google, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera. We're not changing that. We're just being the conduit so an advertiser can compensate the user directly versus compensating only Google, Facebook, Twitter. So there's a difference here. We're not about privacy. We're about compensation and ownership.
Oh, got you. It's incredibly cool. And do you have a use case or any examples that you can share just to help anyone listening understand how it would work in their world and the kind of ads that they could be compensated for?
Sure. We just launched what's called a browser extension that works on the Chrome browser. So if you use Chrome, which they have an 85% market share on desktop, you can go and download, you can go to permission.io and download the extension, or you can go to the Chrome App Store directly and download the Permission browser extension. And that takes literally a second. It's just a click and it's installed. As you surf the internet, particularly on e-commerce sites, Amazon, and hundreds of thousands of e-commerce sites, if you're searching for a product, you'll see a little yellow icon in the corner of your screen that says Earn ASK. And you can click on that icon and up pops a video ad that will be a relevant product. And then you can earn crypto. And we have a wallet built into the browser extension. It stays right in your wallet. And so you can surf the internet and do the things you normally do and earn ASK, but you choose to watch an ad that's relevant to you.
And it's a great idea. It really is for people that are interested in opting in. But I suppose the success of any new technology or any idea is usually associated with the kind of adoption that it gets. So for you guys, how are you helping to increase adoption, not just with the users, but with business and partners too?
Well, that's a great question. And that, of course, is the number one challenge. Yeah. We just launched the browser extension. And just, last week, I think we had 1,000 downloads and just, with very little promotion. There's also, you can go to permission.io and watch ads as well. And we've had, in a very short period of time, 350,000 users registered to earn ASK on permission.io. But our goal is to be in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of users. But we are connected through all of the existing, what's called programmatic pipes that deliver ads. There's many ad exchanges where it all happens what's called programmatically. And so we're connected to all of those APIs and what I'll call pipes to get the best ads targeted at exactly what you want to see.
And I'm not sure how much you can talk about this, but before you came on the podcast today, I was doing a little bit of research on you guys and quickly learned that you got a partnership with Google. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and the road ahead?
Well, it's interesting. Google, to my very pleasant surprise, is supportive of us. We are connected to the Google Ad Exchange, which required their approval. We are also in the Chrome App Store, which of course required their approval. And we're soon going to be announcing another aspect of the partnership, which is not quite finalized, but I'll give you a little hint that for people who are interested in crypto mining, they'll be able to mine ASK in the Google Cloud. So that's not, I want to be very clear, that's not official yet, but it's imminent. So there's many aspects to our relationship with Google.
And a question that I always like to ask my guests is there a particular song that has inspired you in the past, helped you on your career, or helped you get your head in the zone before going on stage for a keynote, or just remind you of technology and your career in tech? So for you, what would that song be and why?
Well, Neil, that's such a cool question. There's so many songs that have inspired me, but when I thought about that, there's a song by Bob Dylan called Hurricane. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's the story of Reuben Carter, who was a heavyweight contender for the boxing championship of the world. And he was arrested in the South in Alabama. He was framed for a murder and he was put in jail. And for 18 years, he was in jail until Bob Dylan came out with that song, which inspired lawyers to take up Reuben Carter's case. And ultimately, he got out of jail and he was framed. But it's a story of grit and sticking to it and and how you never give up if you want to succeed at something. And that's the kind of stuff that really inspires me.
Oh, man, I absolutely love that song too. I'm fighting the urge not to do a Bob Dylan impression to you there, especially that 8-minute version, I think, that was on the album. It just blows me away. So great choice. And for anyone listening that would like to find you guys online and contact your team, if they've got any additional questions or join your community, where's the best starting point for that?
Well, first go to permission.io, sign up. By registering and just filling out a registration and signing up, you can earn 100 ASK. And one of the cool things about our project is, people can get started in crypto without having to go to their bank and wire to Coinbase or a major exchange. They can sign up on permission.io and share their data and opt in, and they can start earning. And they don't have to go to their bank account to wire money and buy, an asset that's very volatile. So that's the first step. Go to permission.io and sign up. You can follow us on Twitter, and that's probably where we have a very robust Twitter feed, and on Telegram. So that's how you can follow us.
Excellent. Well, I'll add those links to the blog post that will accompany this episode, just so people can find you nice and easily. But there's so many big debates at the moment around privacy and convenience and sacrificing privacy for convenience. But what I love about your story here is everybody now owns their own data in your world and actually is compensated for it. And that's got to be a good halfway house and certainly an improvement on what we have right now. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So Permission is powered by that ASK token, which is the currency of permission, which allows users to earn ASK by securely sharing their data and opting in to receive relevant ads and content. So marketers can ask permission to deploy Ask on their own channels as an incentive to drive loyalty through personalised ad campaigns, thereby increasing ROI, driving conversions, and most importantly of all, building consumer trust. And the fact that it is empowering individuals to take control of their personal data and rewards them for their time and enabling them to grant permission for engagement and access to the data when they say. And it's got to be a great thing. And I think also if you are hearing a lot of news about cryptocurrencies at the moment and you want to dip your toes into crypto without entering bank details and things like that, you can earn Ask, a simple to use digital reward, by engaging with ads. So you've got nothing to lose, really, I think. But shifting to advertising that is built on permission certainly feels like a step in the right direction and food for thought indeed. So I've got to ask, is this something that appeals to you? Please, I want you to share your views, experiences, insights, and of course suggestions for the Tech Talks Daily Spotify playlist. Speaking of which, I need to add Bob Dylan's Hurricane to the playlist right now, and I cannot tell you how hard it is for me not to do my horrendous Bob Dylan impression right now. So instead, I'll say email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk, and I'll meet you all again tomorrow. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.